Here we go, we're live. Aloha! It's been about 1,000 years since we last did one of these. I have aged very,
I
very
don't know how
badly.
long it's been since we last did
Uh,
one of those. I mean, it wasn't summer when we last did one of those.
last
That's
year,
for
it
sure.
was. It's
Uh,
it's been
was
a
it
good.
was it March the last time we did one of those?
It yeah, it was. It was, I think, March, and we actually was going to come back, and then we kind of vanished again.
So yeah, 3 months ago. So 3 months ago we said we'll be back. We'll be doing another live stream, and then
Yep,
3 months later, we are actually back doing a live stream, but 3 months after the date we said we do one.
yep.
Well, that's about right for us.
It sounds about right, but life got in the way, unfortunately. We have jobs and life outside of YouTube. Like I say, we've always
Mm.
said, me and Sam, well, I say
Life
we've got
outside
life.
of YouTube.
Yeah,
Well, I suppose if you class sort of what going to work and occasionally chilling out and watching crap on Netflix and you know,
yeah, yeah. Like I say, when it's just that other things are just taking our focus away from
yeah,
the channel. It's just one of those things. I mean, when we made this channel, we set out for it just sort of just as a way to separate from our actual main YouTube channels, um, and a place where we can quite comfortably talk about ponies and anything of that nature. So, obviously, YouTube, I've always seen YouTube as a hobby, nothing else. I've never seen it as a potential career choice, nothing like that. So, we just wing it. Whenever, you know, Sam can probably testify to this to a degree. Whatever interests us in regards to the pony stuff, like Sam with his theories and fan fiction interests and other stuff like that, and whatever might pique my interest as well. Say if I might uncover an article, or if I want to talk about a specific part of maybe Equestria Girls or whatever it is, we will talk about it when we want. I mean, like I say, we don't have the biggest audience or subscriber count on the channel, but we have over 100, which is quite good, more than we thought we'd ever have on the channel. But uh, end of the day, this is just a hobby for us both, and life has gotten in the way. But anyways, so with that introduction out the way, me and Sam, we had an interesting phone call conversation earlier this morning. Yeah, this morning. I usually don't get up before 12 usually, because your boy needs his beauty sleep and I need a fucking ton of it. Well, anyways, so Samboy has some interesting new information that went up on Equestria Daily, I believe. So I will leave it to Sam to talk about it, and we will share it on the screen so you can read it as well. And we will discuss it and talk about the Chapter 4 episodes for Make Your Mark as well. So, leave it up to you, Sam, if you want to introduce what you found.
right. Well, firstly, just to let you know, Nosy, I've just discovered there is more information that has actually been released.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, we can discuss it a little bit in depth.
Nice.
So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically just quickly share the screen because I want to show everybody what I'm talking about. And it's a very interesting development. So, before I bring this up, I just want to give you all a little bit of the backstory. So, I'll just nip over to the Equestrian Daily article real quick and I'll just give you a little bit of a reader here. Um,
You haven't, you
so
haven't, you haven't cast it over, by the way.
yeah, I'm not going to cast it just yet.
Oh,
I
okay,
just, I
okay.
just want to read this little bit. So, one of the things that's been confirmed is that originally there was meant to be 5 chapters to Gen 5, and obviously we've just had Chapter 4. That's now changed, and we are now getting a 6th and final chapter. Now, the way it's going to work is basically, to give you all a little bit of information that's been released as of the last 24 hours. So this is how it's going to go from now on. Chapter 5 will have 6 episodes. Chapter 6 will have 3 episodes and 1 special. And here we go. This is the official name of the special. I'm going to bring it up now, and then I'm going to discuss it with Nosy. We're going to discuss it. So here we go. This is the official name of the finale, the final special for Gen 5. This is what's going to be called.
Awkward silence as he works his brain matter.
Yeah, right. Should all be able to see me now. Yep. Okay. I'm bringing it up. Here it is. My Little Pony: Secrets of Starlight. And basically Starlight Glimmer. And this has been confirmed to be the final part of the Gen 5 story. The final part, which is going to be the final special. And it will be called A My Little Pony: Secrets of Starlight. So there we have it. That is the official title. And one of the things that I'm going to discuss now is the bit more information we have. So we have a little bit of information regarding the franchise overview and the presentation that was made. So the following information states, according to the 2023 marketing plans presented this year, will see the release of the rest of Make Your Mark that was originally ordered in 2021. Chapter 5 will have 6 episodes, while Chapter 6 will have 3 episodes and 1 special. The final special will be titled Secrets of Starlight. We are reliably informed that Chapter 5 will be released September 18th this year, and Chapter 6 will be released November next year. The presentation for 2024 does not include any information about the Make Your Mark content for 2024. It seems Hasbro concluded the Tell Your Tale was more successful show over the target demographic. The other slide discussed the future of Make Your Mark. It just states that it will stay on Netflix in 2024. The rest of the presentation is focused on Tell Your Tale, which is the YouTube series. From March 2024, certain G5 content, presumably Tell Your Tale and Make Your Mark, will no longer be exclusive to Netflix and YouTube, and episodes will be released on TV and ad-support free streaming services. Then there's also just a little bit of information about some new figures that are coming out. One of them shows Izzy with a rainbow-style mane, a bit like sort of how Sunny's mane when she goes Alicorn power-up. So maybe Izzy gets a power-up or the other main 5 do. But so that basically confirms that there is going to be a grand finale for G5 sometime next year, basically Christmas time. And that is going to be dubbed or called, as far as we're aware, the official name is Secrets of Starlight. So we would assume that is referencing Starlight Glimmer, who obviously was Twilight's apprentice. And that is beginning to make me wonder, are we perhaps going to move beyond the borders of Maritime Bay? Are we going to get to see Ponyville, Canterlot, other areas from the G4 era? Is this suggesting that we are going to get to see some kind of diary, perhaps, that Starlight left behind, or something else linked into her? Now, we obviously know that part of the story for G5 revolves around Zip trying to decode the complete message that Twilight left. Now, I have a theory that will be part of the next chapter. They'll decode it. You'll learn something very important about Opaline, and then that will potentially lead us down into the story Secrets of Starlight, which I'm hoping does actually mean Starlight Glimmer herself. because another little bit of my brain is thinking, well, what if it's a ruse? What if, everyone's thinking, oh, Starlight Glimmer, but what if instead it ends up being a story where the stars of the night sky reveal something, which would be pretty lame, to be perfectly honest. I would just hate that if it was just like, we have to go over to this place somewhere and the light of the stars will show us something. Like, I really hope that isn't what they mean. I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that they are going to do a full G4 connection, because as we are going to discuss in this video, we already know that the current chapter 4, where that's heading, or what the story that they told, very much connects it to G4 very well. And again, I'm not really trying to speculate, but I'm really hoping that we are indeed going to be looking at, a complete full circle. We are going to get to see G4 connecting to G5. I mean, they've already done it partially with the film, obviously, because in the G5 film there's a lot of G4 references, and obviously then in the later story we've had the message from Twilight herself. So I'm really hoping that the secrets of Starlight is Starlight Glimmer. It connects to Twilight, connects to the main six, and ultimately connects to the G5 storyline. So, considering it's basically about 18 months away, we probably won't get any story updates for at least another 12 months. I reckon this time next year we will get story updates. And then you never know, that might be the next time we do a live stream in a year's time when we want to talk about the story updates.
Probably about 5 years' time when it's all finished.
But yeah, then of course the other little bit of reveal. Well, it's not really a reveal. It's just basically, as I said, confirming that within the next couple of months, probably, I think it said. Let's double check this again. Yeah, so as of March next year, basically G5 will no longer be Netflix exclusive or YouTube exclusive. So we will be seeing it on the televisions, which you never know might actually mean we'll get the G5 film released on DVD along with the series, which I'd love. I'd love to actually get hold of it on DVD, just for the collection, really.
Yeah, I believe when it comes, you've got your streaming rights, but then you've got your airing rights, which are two very different things. So a lot of the time when something like streams, that's great, but like airing is kind of a different thing. So usually before something comes out physically, especially when it's animation, usually with animation more than films, obviously films, it goes straight to cinema or straight to DVD. It's a different thing. But when it comes to animation, usually it goes up either on Netflix or Hulu or whatever it is, streaming service, and then it'll eventually air on TV. And once it's aired on TV, then it'll most likely get picked up for a DVD release. But the thing is, we've had problems with distribution, specifically with MLP, since Frenchman's Magic finished. So, like I say, we never got the final 2 seasons, 8 and 9, for Frenchman's Magic in box set form, and since we've not had anything physical DVD or Blu-ray media since that. So mostly because, like I was talking to you earlier about Shout Factory. Basically, Shout Factory had the contract with Hasbro. There was partnered with Hasbro to distribute most of Hasbro's properties, like Power Rangers, Kamen Rider, all the Sentai stuff, as well as English dubbed stuff, like anime-related things, and also Transformers-related stuff, as well as My Little Pony. And Shout Factory, I believe all of Frenchman's Magic box sets up to season 7 were distributed or released by Shout Factory, and then after that, as well as the Equestria Girl films as well. Even though, strangely, I believe the first Equestria Girl film has Funimation on it. I noticed that. I don't know if I'm getting mixed up with this, but I remember seeing the Funimation logo on one of the backs of one of the. It was either one of the Equestria Girl films or it was either season 1 of the series. But Funimation, I don't think had actually. Obviously, there was no voice actors that I know. There was no voice acting talent from. There was no voice acting talent from Funimation, but yet they do. Um, they did handle their own distribution though for North America. Funimation, when it comes to animation, Funimation when it comes to animation for anime, they distribute. They distribute to North America only. They've only got the distribution rights for North America, but now all of it's now moved over to Crunchyroll, which is I believe they've got a little bit. I don't know how they distribute anime, or I don't know, but now it's kind of changed, and it's now Sony now. Sony own Funimation, and I believe they also own maybe Crunchyroll as well. Hence why they've merged together. But anyway, sorry, Silver Comet. I've been kind of ignoring you. I don't know if you're still here or not. But we had our friend Silver Comet says, "Hi, guys. Greetings from Argentina. Hello." And then he comes in with a rumor saying the closing of Make Your Mark 3D series would be to open up production of a G5 version of Equestria Girls, already suggested by the toy line.
Yeah, I've been hearing rumors about that myself, including rumors about a 3D Equestria Girls sort of G4, which I know has been on the rumor mill for at least 4 years now. But yeah, I have heard rumors as well. Silver Comet, I have heard those exact same rumors about effectively shall we say, a soft reboot for Equestria Girls. Speaking of Equestria Girls, I actually really wish that they could finish it off because I know I've mentioned this in the past, but the G4 writers have actually confirmed that there is a script for a final Equestria Girls film, and they just never made it. So it's I'd love to see that. I know it'll probably never happen, but yeah, as Silver Comet mentions there, mate, I've heard the same rumors about a 3D series for. The rumor I heard was it was G4, but Silver Comet makes more of a point with it being G5 because it would make more sense. But I've just heard rumors that it's G4, but technically G5 would make more sense. Unless they want to connect the two bridges and bring in like a merger, have G4, G5 connected in that world. Because again, that world is its own thing. But yeah, there are rumors going around about it.
And then he comes in again with this one saying the topmost room of Opaline's castle, her royal office, not her bedroom. She has the chest from Fim season 4, the one that created the Castle of Friendship. Interesting. I didn't even know.
I didn't notice that. Is that the one with all the keys, isn't it? I think.
So. I can't actually remember. It's been at least a week since I watched the newer episodes.
I'm going to Google that. I want to Google that right now. I'm going to try and find it.
So, is there any other information that's come out then? Obviously, like you were saying about the new stuff. So obviously, I don't know if Silver Comet's still here. I think currently we've got no one watching. I think Silver Comet was the other one watching, and maybe he's gone. I know I was sort of kind of I was ignoring him because Sam was talking. I didn't want to interrupt. But like I say, so if there is anybody watching on YouTube for some reason isn't telling us that, basically, long story short, just to kind of summarize, it has been confirmed it was originally confirmed that we was getting one more fifth, just one more volume 5 for chapter 5, for Make Your Mark, but now it's being confirmed that we are in fact getting 2 more, 5 and 6. 6 will be the final, and then they announced that there's going to be a follow-on, possibly for G5, called Secrets of Starlight. So we are essentially going to be getting kind of say G5 G5.0 basically, or 0.5 basically. So it's kind of either it's going to be the same characters are going to be in it from G5, and it's just kind of going to be a continuation. So, and we're also going to be getting one more special as well, I believe. So, is that special then confirmed to be the bridge for possible or was that the title of the special that you showed?
The title of the special, well, it's not 100% confirmed, but it is believed to be Secrets of Starlight.
So Secrets of Starlight is the special, not the series following.
Right, it states the following. So Chapter 5 will have 6 episodes, while Chapter 6 will have 3 episodes and 1 special. The final special will be titled and marketed as Secrets of Starlight. So I'm assuming then that's Chapter 6. That one special is the Secrets of Starlight then.
So is that the one? Is that the last remaining special that's upcoming? Then?
Yeah, that's 2024
so
November time.
So it's not 2 specials. We've just still got that one that's left. So that's going to be the Tales of Starlight. Because originally ordered, there was 4 specials ordered plus 4 chapters. But now they like I said, they confirmed a Chapter 5, and now they've confirmed a Chapter 6.
Right, here we go. Here's the actual lineup. So, right, we're already there. So that was released. Right, so okay. Right, so somewhere between okay, this is I'm kind of losing this a bit here. This doesn't quite add up. Hang on. Because according to this, oh no, sorry, my apologies. I misread this. Hang on. Sorry, mate. 2 seconds.
No problem. It's not like we're live or not. I'm joking. These things happen. It's fine. Happens to the best of us, so best people when live things happen.
Right, yeah, I misread that. It's this year. It's not next year. It's this year. The final.
Right,
I misread it.
So
it's
we're getting
this year.
So the final 5th and 6th chapters of this year.
Yeah. So the next part, Chapter 5, is somewhere, according to the timeline, because it's actually on Equestria Daily now. The timeline states late September, early October. The next chapter, which is 6 episodes, is going to be released, and then this year again, late November, early December, we have the remaining 3 episodes plus the special. However, it's implying on the timeline that the final part is actually not called Make Your Mark, it's called Secrets of Starlight. So it's implying that Secrets of Starlight isn't just a special, it's the 3 episodes before it as well. So I'm assuming then, based off this, what I'm looking at here, after the final episode of the next part in near September, something must happen, and then that leads into the Secrets of Starlight storyline. Right, I'm just going to send it over to you, mate. I'm going to send a link to you.
Okay.
and that'll give you what I'm looking at, the timeline. So it's this year. I actually thought it was next year. I misread it, but it is this year. We get the whole lot finishing this year. Yeah, because I misread it, because what I looked at originally in what I'm looking at on Equestria Daily here, it says
Right. So what I'm gonna do?
It states presentation 2024 presentation overview. I misread it. What I actually was reading was the bottom bit. The top bit on the page states, that it is this year, September 2023 to November. So yeah, we are getting everything else this year, as you've got it on screen now. So somewhere between September, October is chapter 5, November, December is chapter 6 plus the special. However, it's heavily implying that the actual whole section is just called Secrets of Starlight. So it's entirely possible that something happens in the final episode or at the midway point, if you will, that leads us into technically a whole new story. So the question really I feel like I want to ask is, what's going to happen after Secrets of Starlight? Are we going to look at a G6 continuing the story? What's going to happen? So it is all this year then.
Interesting. Okay, so looking at this now that it's on the screen, so we've already had the Bradley Woodstock episode, or special, but it says 6 by right. So what's throwing me is the episode count.
No, that when it says 6 times 22 episodes, that means 6 episodes at 22 minutes.
Oh, 22 minutes. Sorry, that was throwing me. I apologize. Right, okay. Interesting. So essentially, then we've essentially still only got one more chapter, but essentially you could kind of call it a 6th chapter, but it's more kind of different. That makes sense.
Yeah, you could argue that the next part finishes the current story arc, and then it leads into the final story arc. What I'm curious about is Secrets of Starlight. Is the special before or after the episodes? Because I know basically like Bridal Woodstock, the special was before the episodes, and it seems to imply that here. But depending on how the special plays out, either will the 3 episodes just continue directly after the special,
Right.
because technically Bridal Woodstock is its own story. It's not linked into the actual story of the series.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious then, is the special going to be the main part of Secrets of Starlight, or is it going to be something else? Because if it's something else, then we've only got 3 episodes for Secrets of Starlight, or whatever that's going to be about.
Interesting. And also, it looks like we're going to be getting obviously more of the Tell Your Tale as well. According to that, saying apparently always on new episodes every month throughout 23. Season 1 available on Netflix throughout 23. So looks like they're finally going to be adding more of the episodes to Netflix. Apparently 11.5 million plus viewers, which so I think G5's done better than I think, especially the YouTube series. And it looks like if by looking at this, we're going to be getting a physical album launch as well, for focusing on pony related tracks for our core demo. So interesting. All right, so let's get this off. You're nicking someone's car.
No.
Anyway, so that's kind of interesting. So I don't know who's watching. I don't know if it's still you, Silver Comet. There's one person currently watching, but we have acknowledged you. If it is Silver Comet, we have acknowledged you. We've been talking about what you've posted there. But anyway, so yeah, the information there is certainly interesting. So we've essentially got 2 more chapters, but essentially 1 full chapter of 6 episodes. And then we have a further 6th chapter after that follows. So basically, so we get the special first, then the 3 episodes after, or is it the 3 episodes first, then the special?
I'm not sure. It's hard to tell because it in theory, in theory, it would make sense for the special, at least the way I'm looking at it, it would make sense for the special to be after the 3 episodes, because if you have the special after the 3 episodes, you're basically giving, you're giving the viewers effectively, you're giving us more to watch, unless the last 3 episodes are literally hooked onto the special. So unless it's a story spread over, an extended period, so we've got the special, then the 3 episodes. So I'd like to think if the special is before the 3 episodes, then the 45, 50-minute special continues with 3 episodes. So it isn't just going to finish and then all of a sudden you've got 3 episodes completely ignoring the special. I would like to think those 3 episodes are literally just continuing the story.
Yeah, because it does. The thing is like obviously we're going to go into our thoughts on the chapter 4 episodes in a moment, which is going to be the latter part of this stream. But yeah, kind of like what we were sort of kind of discussing about before we get into the thoughts. I'm not going to say too much at the moment, but basically what we was discussing before is we kind of feel with what happened in what happened with the chapter 4 episodes, obviously in the final, but we finally kind of the feeling we kind of got from that was it's finally starting to go more story driven. We're finally starting to go in a direction, and then when we have originally kind of found out that we were really going to get 1 more chapter 5, and we thought, really? It's finally kind of kicking in story-wise, and they're going to finish it on chapter 5. Thankfully, that's not the case, but it's interesting that they kind of want to finish it all off in 1 chunk for this year. So I'm kind of wondering, obviously, next year, I'm wondering if we're going to get something else for 2024. Maybe, but will it? So, essentially, also with you saying is Netflix still going to be producing it? Or co-producing it, or whatever you want to call it. Or
I think it's still involved with Netflix. There's nothing to say it isn't. It's still Netflix, YouTube, all that. So that's still a thing.
Right.
I'd just be curious about what the plan is for after. What exactly the plan is for after G5 finishes.
Because the thing is that because end of the day, with G5, it's finally with Make Your Mark. It is now. It felt with these latter episodes to us that it was finally kind of being more tangible. You could see it was more going in a direction, and we finally got to see a fight between. Since the film, there's been nothing like that. Obviously, in the film, when Sunny finally gets her newer powers, and kind of goes out like Alicorn, Sunny, and takes out Sprout's death weapon, if you want to call it that. So basically, when that happens, and but that's literally been the last time we've seen Sunny kind of like do that. And then obviously in chapter 4, we finally got to see a fight between Sunny and Opaline. So we finally kind of see it's starting to kind of go away from the cutesy, simplified route, and it was finally starting to go in a direction where it was a little bit more serious, because end of the day, there was a fight in there, even though it wasn't the most goriest or anything. A fight.
Well, mate, it's MLP, mate. I mean,
Yeah.
luckily you're not directing or writing this, or else it would be pure bloody a bloodbath. You know, it would be 18 rated, and like every single child who tuned in thinking, "Yay, ponies!" would be spending 20 years in the mental institution because you wrote it.
Yes.
Seriously, people, this guy's horror addiction is insane. They're literally, just to point it out right now, people, for this bloke's birthday, I'm getting him something that is quite possibly one of the goriest films I've ever seen, that was recommended to me by a workmate, and she's like hugely into horror. And she recommended a film to me recently and said it's basically just pure gore. And it is by rights the goriest thing I've ever seen. And I'm going to buy it for this guy for his birthday. And I bet he's going to be like, it was all right. It could have been a bit more gory. I would have done this if I were the writer.
No, if I was the director more than anything. But yeah, sweet. You sure I don't have it?
As far as I'm aware, you don't have it.
I don't have
Shouldn't.
I don't have the biggest horror collection, to be quite honest. But the last horror film, I haven't actually watched it yet, but it's a South Korean one. As long as it's a South Korean one, I believe.
Well, this isn't South Korean, so you shouldn't have it.
Right, that's fine.
But anyway, let's stick to the topic on hand and not start talking about a completely different topic here, mate.
But yeah, so our thoughts then on the latter episodes, chapter 4 episodes, the brand new episodes for Make Your Mark. Sam, do you want to start off and what your thoughts were on the new episodes?
Well, the new episodes definitely were a lot more fleshed out, more story driven. Definitely felt like they were 100% trying to start a connection to G4. I mean, for example, we know a few things now. Like we know Opaline was around, has been around a long time. We know that she knew Celestia and Luna. We know this. We also know that she, by sounds of things, originated from what I can describe as wherever the unicorns come from. I'll have to try and find out the name. It's mentioned in the episode, but we know she was originated from that land, wherever that land is. We know her full name, which is Opaline Arcana. We know she's a fire alicorn. And I'm beginning to get the impression that she is quite possibly the embodiment of evil. I think she's literally evil itself. That's why she's her embodiment, her element is fire. And I think she has. I think she has like an almost natural thirst for magic and power, and that's why she absorbs dragon fire. I think we are definitely going to hopefully see more of Akana's past. Or Opaline, should I say, past? So that was the last name, But in regards to what we saw of Opaline in the later episodes of this chapter, it was nice to see her being fleshed out more, to really see her as a villain. As we all know, she was willing to drain the literal life force out of the little dragon. Oh, is it Sparky? His name? I'm trying to remember. He was trying to drain the very life force out of him. And then just, discard him, he's dumb. And it was great to see her be a villain, like for real, and to see her have an actual fight with Sunny and to really get into the nitty gritty of a proper villain. And also the fact we now have a nice connection with her, knowing that she knew Celestia and Luna. So I'm just hoping we get a more solid explanation as to sort of like where she's been all these years. We know that she kind of, was Sunny's sort of pseudo adopted mother, because we know from Misty that she found Misty when she was just a child, and she's sort of, you could say adopted her, but in reality, she sort of made her little errand pony. Do this and I'll grant you
Basically,
your
her
cutie mark.
pawn, yeah, servant and pawn, basically.
Yeah, so, but we're definitely learning more about her, and I'm really hoping the next chapter gives us more. I'm hoping we get to sort of see just exactly her origins, like when did she come into it? Because it's very obvious now that she must have appeared shortly after the events of G4 when it all finished, but before Twilight became all Celestia-like. So in many ways, she must have been a new threat that was introduced. And for whatever reason, that's what impacted the magic. That's what caused the split of the three tribes and ended harmony. So I'm really hoping we get to see more of that. I'll definitely say that Pip and Zip, I have to be perfectly honest, from a character perspective, they're the best. They are the best characters because their development is very well done. Zip and Pip, Zip and Pip's characters for the vast majority of right from Bridal Woodstock all the way through the current chapter, they've had so much development. That you've seen them grow as sisters, as siblings, as simple characters. There's a lot of development with them and their mother. And out of the main six if you include Misty, they're the ones that feel like they have the most character development. Shortly after that, I'd say Misty's a close second, but it just kind of gets me that my girl Sunny Star Scout, I really like her as a character, but I feel like she's really being sidelined. She's just not having any real development. If you for a develop In a lot of ways, she had a huge development arc in the G5 film, but that was kind of the point because she's the main character. But as the main character in the series, she's not really getting development. She's very much the same character she was at the beginning. She's not really. She hasn't really fully learned how to harness the Alicorn power yet, which, okay, fair enough, but that needs to be resolved. Although it is heavily implied that in the final episode of chapter 4 that it's all to do with her emotion to protect her friends.
Yeah.
But I feel like Sunny's getting left behind. Hitch is getting left behind as well. He's not having much development. His development centers around Sparky, and so far we've learned absolutely nothing about Sparky. I mean, we don't know where his egg came from. We don't know why he has the ability to change things. Like, obviously, G4 Spike had the ability to transport things with his flames. Sparky's ability appears that his flames change things. Like you can change a cup into a flower, or a toy ball into a butterfly. He seems to be able to change the very essence of things. So he must be a pretty powerful dragon. He must have a lot of potential. So again, I'm really hoping he gets fleshed out more. If anything, I would say that the next chapter needs to flesh out Sunny and Hitch and Opaline a lot more. Zip and Pip have definitely had a lot of fleshing out, but the other characters need it as well. But altogether, I would say I have enjoyed the recent chapter. It has been good. It has definitely created a nice link for G4 and G5. But I do feel like they need to start focusing on a more character development for the other characters, because Pip and Zip got, as I say, they got loads of character development in chapter 4. Chapter 5, we need to see Sunny get development, Hitch get development, and Misty needs more development, because even though we kind of know her backstory, we haven't seen her backstory, and I'd love to see that and see just how did she meet Opaline, like what were the early years like, rather than bits and pieces, just give us a bit of a flashback here and there. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that, mate. You'd like to add anything?
Yeah. Yeah, interesting points. I think, to be honest, I mean, my opinion is going to be quite similar to yours. I mean, written to a certain degree. Um, chapter 4 episodes for Make Your Mark, I did actually quite enjoy them. It was like as you said, it was good to finally see a fight between Opaline and Sunny. Something we haven't really seen happen at all since the film, the original movie that started it off. Um, and it was good to kind of finally see that Opaline come out of the shadows. You know, all the main characters, or the main five, as it were, they all know who she is now. She is no longer a mystery. They know who she is. She knows what her intentions are, which is to steal the artifacts that the source of power, and also to obtain dragon fire, because obviously, as you said, she is a fire alicorn, so her power comes from fire. Um, so it was also very interesting, as well as you mentioned as well, that we actually saw that Opaline is in fact probably about the same age as Celestia and Luna. So she's probably still. So she's obviously as probably ancient as Celestia and Luna both were as well. Which also poses the question. I generally don't think it's going to happen at all, but potentially, in our conversation on the phone earlier on, when I mentioned about Celestia and Luna, if she was there at that time, as it suggests in the episode there, and they essentially grew up together, and essentially Opaline got quite jealous of the fact that Celestia, she could control the sun, and Luna could control the night and enter dreams and things. So she got quite jealous of that, and Opaline didn't really have much to offer. But then she didn't really like the whole happy-go-lucky sort of thing, and she kind of went on her own kind of agenda. And so it kind of also kind of ponders the question as to Celestia Luna possibly could still be alive in this timeline. Because if Opaline is indeed, or remembers Celestia Luna from when she was a filly, when she was young, then Celestia Luna should still be alive. Because
Right.
there would be
2 seconds, mate. I just want to have a quick listen to something. It's bugging me that I'm just going back to one of the episodes here just for a sec, because it's Opaline mentions where she's from.
Okay.
2 secs.
Just be careful. There's no music in it, because we don't want to get pinged like last time when we attempted a stream.
Oh, come on, where is it? No music, come on. Come on, give me it. Where is it? That's it. Skyrus.
Iris, interesting.
Skyrus. That's where she's from. Because it's in the episode Sunny Side Up. She mentions it. She's from somewhere called Skyrus. What's interesting, there's a reference here. I don't know. Where does it come up? There's a little bit here on the MLP wiki. It states the following: this is interesting. In a confrontation with Fluttershy, she implied that she was a unicorn and had not shown wings. This suggests that she could have either been born a unicorn or an alicorn. And obviously her flashback in Sunnyside Automobile, she was an alicorn since she was a filly, the same as Celestia and Luna. So she's a natural born alicorn, but then apparently she met Fluttershy. Was this in the YouTube series by any chance? Okay, what's going on?
I have a visitor, Sam.
Oh, you have your pussycat.
Susie Puss.
Bring her to me.
No, she's mine.
But yeah, there's something. Oh, right, that's interesting. Right, okay, so yeah, the reference to her meeting Fluttershy, that's just in the comics.
Okay.
So that's the G5 comics. So it isn't canon to the actual series.
Yeah, usually look at the Friendship is Magic comic books. They're not canon to the series either, but they started to kind of later on. They introduced Scootaloo's parents, and they were both same-sex couple. So that was something that was introduced in the comics, and then they decided to actually bring that over to the series as well. That's the only thing that's been canonized, I believe, from a comic.
That was her aunties. Her aunties are a same-sex couple.
Oh, sorry, yes, it was her aunties.
Her aunties are.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed up because they were the ones that were essentially looking after her, weren't they?
Yeah. I mean, they did that episode specifically because I think a lot of people were kept on asking, what's up with Scootaloo? We've never seen her parents. We don't know anything about her parents. So that episode was done to sort of fix that. But yeah, it's interesting. It makes you wonder if Opaline must. I mean, we could assume then that Opaline's been around a long time. She's been around as long as Celestia and Luna have been around. So ultimately, they must have imprisoned her, or she's been somewhere else. Because just to mention it here, there's where is it? There's something else that they mentioned. Right, okay, no, that's interesting, right. Okay, we can work this out then. I can actually give us a rough estimate on how much time has passed between G4 and G5.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realise this, but it's referenced here that so Opaline's Beat was alive at the time of Twilight's reign, and obviously before that, and it was stated by Sunny's father that it had been 10 generations past since the reign of Twilight Sparkle. So a generation is, I believe it's roughly 25 years. Hang on, let me double check that. Yeah, roughly 25 to 30 years. So if we call it 30 years, just to round it off a bit, so 30 years
times what? 10, is it?
So it's roughly 360 years have passed.
Interesting.
So between G4 and G5, it's 360 years.
So then, quite easily, Twilight, Celestia, and Luna could still be alive.
Oh yeah, easily.
Because obviously they're already over 1,000 years anyways at the current point in Friendship Magic. So, and obviously they have much longer lifespans, don't they, compared to other...
They do.
And then dragons as well. I don't know about dragons, but we know that they can live longer than normal earth ponies, but I don't know quite how long. But yeah, I mean, obviously with this Secrets of Starlight, I'm wondering if that we might maybe get someone from Friendship Magic in that special. We might maybe get a returning character, whether it's either Luna or Celestia.
Do you think it will be Starlight? Because the fact that it's called Secrets of Starlight, it's entirely possible Starlight becomes an Alicorn at some point.
Well, the theory is, because the way the story was going, it felt like she was going to become, because the way it was going, it felt like there was emulating how Twilight became an Alicorn in the first place. Like, it felt like that to a degree, but then obviously it kind of changed and it never happened. But it kind of felt like they were going down that road, that she was actually going to find her calling, as it were.
Is Starlight featured in the final episode of G4?
Yes.
Right, okay, but she's not an Alicorn, is she? She's still a unicorn.
She's still, she's still an Alicorn. She's featured, but she's not. Basically, all the characters features, even the ones from the movie. So you see Tempest in the background as well, and another character that was wasted. But yeah, it's interesting, really. To be honest, is that, as you said, about roughly 360 years have passed between Friendship Magic or the coronation of Twilight to the points of Make Your Mark of the current series. So they quite easily could still be alive then, because Opaline's still alive and she's probably just as old as Celestia and Luna, give or take a year or so, or 1,000 years or something.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's implied that it's implied that she's the same age, give or take. She's the same age. I'm trying to try and find something out here. 2 ticks.
So it's interesting, really, because, like I say, like Opaline in the last episodes as well, in the final episode, like there was like a end credits scene after the credits, and Opaline mentions about the lands of she knows where there's more dragons. So she mentions that there's actually, I think she knows exactly where there's more dragons. So I think in chapter 5. We might finally find out where Sparky comes from. I think we might finally find out where his egg came from. So we might actually finally get that question answered. So we might find out where Sparky came from, what lands he came from, who his parents are possibly. So we might maybe find that information out in chapter 5, maybe, hopefully. But it's interesting that Opaline does actually seem to know where there's more dragons. So obviously there is a land of the dragons still in this continuity. Even though it was said quite early on, I believe it was in the movie, wasn't it? Or no, was it in chapter 1 or chapter 2 where it was mentioned that nobody's seen a dragon in a long time? And literally Sparky was the first dragon any pony had seen for so many years.
Yeah, and it's possible that the fracturing of the tribes may have resulted in the dragons deciding to sort of close off the land effectively, and they just lived away and just ignored all the pony kind for a couple of 100 years. It's quite possible.
Yeah, it's interesting because essentially Twilight could still be alive as well. I know I'm kind of mentioning about Celestia and Luna, but Twilight could still be alive as well. Because obviously she was a fully fledged Alicon princess as well, same as Celestia and Luna. Cadence as well, possibly, and also is it Cozy Glow, her daughter?
Flurry Heart.
Flurry Heart. I don't know why I'm getting close. I don't know how that go. But Flurry Heart. So essentially, you've got about 5 characters, maybe 6 characters there. You could quite easily bring one of those back. I mean, I think it'd be perfect bringing Cadence back. I mean, some people might argue with my point there, but Cadence knew Twilight on a much personal level. You know, she was her childminder when she was a filly, so she knows her inside and out better than Celestia does. Even though Celestia was more like a big sister, motherly figure to her. But yeah, so it's going to be kind of interesting, to be honest. That it's going to be kind of interesting, I think, to see whether if they maybe either bring Cadence back because she's obviously an Alicorn as well, so she can live a long time. I don't think we're going to get. I don't know about Shining Armor. I mean, he might be gone. I don't know. But you need to bring a character back. If you did bring a character back from Gen 4, Frenchman's Magic, it would have to be one of the, obviously, the Celestial Alicon princesses. It would have to be one of those because they're the logical choice. They live for thousands, if not millennia, probably. So it's, you know, I think either Cadence would be a good point to bring back, or even Luna, or Cadence's daughter, because she was obviously just born at the point of Frenchman's Magic, so near the end. So up to the point of the coronation, she would essentially been in their longevity with their aging process for an Alicon princess. You know, it's a hell of a lot. You know, obviously they don't seem to grow old; they seem to kind of stay youthful for forever. In you know, or it's a bit like you know, the concept of Super Saiyans, where they're kind of like really their aging process is a hell of a lot slower than a normal human, kind of idea. But I think maybe Flurry Heart might be a good call to bring back because she would probably be she probably might be around about the 300 or so mark in age at this point, maybe about 400 years or something like that. So she's a good shout to bring back, and obviously
there is one thing about the chapter 4. There's one kind of niggle I have with it, and it at times it felt very sort of, how can I put this? There were times where it felt like it was jumping. Like, for example, in one episode, the second to last episode, I think, or the last episode, I can't quite recall, but basically, it just suddenly starts with Misty having successfully, you know, captured Sparky and bring Sparky to Earthplane. And throughout chapter 4, there were moments where it almost felt like there were missing scenes, because all of a sudden there'd be a character there, but no explanation as to what had gone on. And I just sort of felt like there were just moments where it's like you could have fleshed it out a bit more just to explain what's going on.
Yeah.
Like in the last episode, like after the fight with Sunny and Opaline, obviously the main five all leave. Misty remains with Opaline, and then the next scene is the main five in the lighthouse, and then all of a sudden Misty walks in, and it just feels a bit gyrated, like it doesn't really kind of connect right. You know, because for 1 minute she's with Opaline, then she's now walking into the main six's, you know, lighthouse, and it just doesn't quite connect. It feels like, you know, you're missing something.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, to be honest, there is some issues I think with Make Your Mark. I mean, it's like the characters are good to a degree. I love the main five. They are good characters. Well developed characters to a degree, even though with what you said, I do agree that some of them don't seem as developed as others. But they are good characters, they have promise. But it's kind of like the writing for it isn't. I don't think the writing is up to scratch compared to some of the quality stuff that we got with Friendship Magic. It's not the same. Obviously, it's a different writing staff, it's a different production company. So, of course, it's going to be a different kind of perception when it comes to that side of things. But it's one of those things is that, I mean, I'm kind of glad we finally got the confirmation that we're essentially getting 2 more chapters, because that makes perfect sense. And the last special is going to essentially be, potentially could be the start of something new. Maybe the next chapter past Make Your Mark. So maybe, Make Your Mark is the start of it. So we're probably going to get maybe a season 2, which will be whatever may follow after the special and the final Secrets of Starlight episodes and things. But I don't know. I mean, when it comes, I mean, I think the pacing of it was a little bit all over the place from like start to finish, except for the movie. The movie was perfectly paced. But yeah, I don't know. It's just there's a lot of promise. I generally think they could have easily have started to ease into things. They could have added more. They could have, as we spoke about earlier on the phone, about secondary characters. The only secondary characters that have had a bit more development is Zip and Pip's mom, and the guy who was introduced in the movie. I've forgotten his name. Basically, where Sonny kind of like plays games with him to get
Alpha Fizzle.
Alpha Fizzle. So they are the only two, essentially, in my opinion, they're the only 2 secondary characters that have had the most sort of development. And it seems like they're going to get together because it looks like they both like each other as well. Zip and Pip's mom and him.
I wonder if that's how it'll end. She gets married. Zip, Pip, might introduce your new father. Why are you running away?
Yeah. But,
again, like you say, mate, like I've said, that they really are incredibly well fleshed out. They really are.
Yeah, I mean, I love Zip and Pip. I mean, Zip. I mean, Zip. I mean, even though she's essentially Rainbow Dash, she does give off Rainbow Dash vibes, but not quite. She doesn't feel like Rainbow Dash, even though she's quite similar in how she's designed and the fact that she can fly and she's quite confident as well and driven. But obviously, no one can beat Rainbow Dash. I mean, come on now, she's 20% cooler. But it's basically, for me, it's just I love Zip and Pip. I mean, Pip, for me, I found her a little bit annoying. I like her character, but obviously she's the social media guru of the group, and I think she's my least favorite of the characters. Let's just put it that way. Zip, I love Zip. She's a great character. My girl, Izzy, I love Izzy. And then obviously Sunny, she's a great character as well. But I generally think chapter 5 is probably going to be an interesting chapter. I generally think we are, because like you brought up the idea of like Sparky. Nobody knows where the egg came from, and then we already kind of found out that dragons haven't been seen in a long, long time. Basically, I don't even think Sunny's even seen a dragon. I don't think any of them have even seen a dragon except for in storybooks, which Sunny kind of, obviously, she found out a lot about the lore and the past and urban legends and things and fairy tales. Possibly they think it's maybe a fairy tale from the time of the Friendship is Magic from Sunny's father. He kind of like introduced her to all these stories from the Friendship is Magic time frame of like the adventures of the main 6 and things. So it's one of those things is that, I think we're going to finally, because obviously with as well with Opoline mentioning about, because obviously there was an end credit scene in the last episode of Chapter 4, and she basically says about the dragons, which she must know exactly where the dragons are. So I generally think we're going to get, possibly we might maybe even find the biological parents of Sparky. Maybe that's maybe a bit of a thing, but obviously the egg came from somewhere. The egg came from somewhere. That his mother's probably worried sick looking for him, or something happened to his parents, and somehow they managed to get him to safety away from whatever's going on in their land, or whatever. You don't know. You don't know what the reason is why Sparky ended up in Maytime Bay. But I generally think with the mention of dragons, the land of dragons by Opoline in the final episode of Chapter 4, I think Chapter 5 we're probably going to get maybe some more dragons. We're probably going to get fully grown dragons. So could we see the potential of maybe Ember or Spike coming to it? Could Sparky be their son? Who knows? Because there was like obviously Ember and there was kind of like a lot of shipping, wasn't there? There was a bit of a ship, like obviously Rarity and Spike weren't going to happen because of the age difference, but yet there wasn't as much of an age difference between Ember and Spike. And obviously,
yeah, although to be fair, oh, I'm trying to think now. Was it? What was the other dragon's name?
Oh, yeah, I forgot her name. She was one of the pupils, wasn't she?
Yeah, is it? Bloody hell, name's got me out.
Oh, I forgot her bloody name now. So
it's going to annoy me. What was her name? Two secs, mate. I've got to find her now because it. Smolder, that was it. I kept on thinking it was Scorch, but it's Smolder because Smolder. Thing with Smolder, in a lot of ways, she was never really set up as like any sort of romantic or having a crush on him. She was very much the big sister. In a lot of ways, she became Spike's adopted sister. You know, although technically you could argue that Twilight was his adopted sister, but she was more like his adopted mother, really. Whereas Smolder is very much his almost like his surrogate big sister. Because a lot of the times where there's episodes where they're in it together, primarily within the story, she is very much a surrogate big sister to him.
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, I mean, Ember seems more the best shout that Spike ended up with Ember, to be honest, because she was in charge of the dragons anyway, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was the Dragon Lord.
Yeah, her father was like kind of the king of the dragons, basically, and then she was essentially the next in line. So yeah. So to be quite honest, is that I generally think Spike could potentially be with Ember. And that's just a big shout on my part. I mean, I don't know, but who knows? But the thing is Sparky looks a little bit like Spike. I don't know whether that's the intention of the animators to throw you off, but if you kind of look at Sparky a little bit, he does look a little bit like Baby Spike. You know, in his face and his features. I generally think he could be related to Spike, maybe his son or whatever, or I don't know. But I generally think Chapter 5, we're finally going to maybe, hopefully, I say this hopefully, we might finally get some I's and T's crossed. You know, I's dotted and T's crossed, because there's still a lot of unanswered questions, I think, in regards to Make Your Mark. There's stuff up in the air. And I generally think we might finally, within these final 2 chapters that have been announced and the special, I generally think hopefully there is a lot more room there for development and a decent conclusion. If we don't get anything past Make Your Mark and the special chapter 6 stuff, for Secrets of Starlight. So if we don't get anything past that, they need to do something where it finally concludes and not copy the problems that French Magic had at the end, because it never got a proper conclusion. Yes, it kind of did. We found this other coronation of Twilight, but there was originally going to be a final season, a season 10.
Yeah.
There was going to be a season 10 where we're finally going to get all the answers. Apparently, we were going to get everything, all the questions fans had and issues people had. They were finally going to hopefully finish it with final 25, 26 episodes season 10. We're going to finish it. Yeah, they made the season 10 a comic book series, but apparently it's shite. I've only got, I think, the first volume book for the season 10, and I've not actually read it properly, but apparently it's not very good at all, so I've heard. But yeah, it's just I don't want a copy of what happened near the end for French Magic. I want them to properly have a good conclusion. If this is it for the Make Your Mark and those characters, and whatever comes next is a whole new generation again, then they need to do a good conclusion where everything ties together nicely and not just be lazy writing. There's nothing worse than lazy writing. I know sometimes it's never necessarily the writer's fault. Sometimes they've got pressure from higher ups. That does happen. MGM are pronounced for that. Quite a few notable films I can bring up. Terminator Salvation. They were very, very, very. I know this is completely different to Bronies. I apologize for going off topic, but what I'm trying to do with this as a point is that it does happen. Like MGM, like Terminator Salvation, as an example. They appointed a director, but he was not allowed anything he suggested, any creative input, he was denied and rejected. MGM already wrote out and already had a plan in mind for how the film would move on and how it would go. And he was essentially not really a director. He wasn't a director. It wasn't his personal imprint on the film. It was just he was hired as a name only to get people to go and see it. And obviously they got Christian Bale again, another reason for people to go and see it. So that was just a big ploy basically for MGM to try and get people to go. And and also probably when it comes to the writing side, it was biased writing. It was not a good. It wasn't like probably. I doubt there were even fans of the franchise, or if there was. But sometimes you get top brass problems where they put pressure on the writers and artists of things, and it causes issues and it causes rushed work. It causes probably people to lose interest, so that the writing it comes over in a way that there's just no interest in there at all. There's no passion. There's no love for what they are writing and trying to create. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens due to top brass or some sort of pressure, unnecessary pressure.
Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, this is way off topic, but the director of Terminator Salvation for well over a decade now, he's basically been saying there is a director's cut of Terminator Salvation. It has something like 30 to 40 minutes of additional content, including an entire subplot. And there's also about 4 alternative endings that were all filmed. And he's been saying for years now, I'd say at least a decade, that he's been trying and completely failing to get this director's cut released, because he keeps saying that he wants to get it released because there's so much to that film that has never been publicly seen. He's said many times the actual full Terminator Salvation, the actual film that they filmed, has a lot more plot in it. He basically said that the version that was released, the reason it feels unfinished and doesn't quite make sense in certain parts of the story is because it is missing parts of the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's been saying, as I say, for well over a decade that he wants this to be released, but the studio, for some strange reason, refused to release the director's cut. And from a back to ponies, that is literally what happened with Equestria Girls and MLP Gen 4, Friendship is Magic. With Equestria Girls, there was a final Equestria Girls film. There was meant to be a film that was going to heavily explore Sunset Shimmer. You were going to find out what happened in the early years of her being in the Equestria Girls universe, what happened to that version of Sunset Shimmer. You're going to find out where she was. And then in Friendship is Magic, there was loads of concepts that they wanted to explore, but they were just for some reason never allowed to. I mean, they had plans, as I've said before to you, mate. They had plans to expand Zikora's character hugely. They had they actually had a 2-part story, a 2-part special, written and everything, fully scripted, and it was going to go. The main 6 were going to travel with Zikora to her homeland, and they were going to basically find out why she was living in the Everfree Forest, why she'd left her homeland. There was also confirmation that there were plans to actually bring in characters from the film, the G4 film, into the series properly. Because obviously the only place that you visit from the film is obviously Sequestria, as it's known. You go and visit that, but you don't see anything else. Though they did confirm they did have plans to bring back characters from the film and to even have sort of remnants of the Storm King show up at some point. They had all sorts of plans, but they never got the green light. So in a lot of ways, really, Friendship is Magic is partially unfinished. You know, there was meant to be other stories that they just never got round to telling.
Yeah. I know it's unfortunate, really, because like it would have been great to finally get that final Equestria Girl film to kind of give it a proper conclusion and not just essentially just cast it away. I mean, yeah, it's a shame, really, that Friendship Magic never got the proper conclusion it was supposed to have. It was initially supposed to have, because 10 seasons, not just 9. It was supposed to have a full 10-year span or 10-season span. That didn't happen. A lot of the development and a lot of the story changed at least about 3 or 4 times throughout the duration of it, due to maybe Hasbro probably changing their mind, or they just essentially thought, we're just going to grab as much cash as we can from this, introduce different characters that have literally no relevance whatsoever to the story to any point. We're just going to bring in like one time only kind of characters so we can just sell toys. And I understand that Hasbro's a business and they are a toy company, and that is their whole thing, is to sell toys, make toys, sell toys. But this is a thing with Hasbro, not just with MLP. Everything that they touch, Transformers, MLP, Dungeons and Dragons, the media stuff, whatever it is that I believe, there's loads of stuff that Hasbro own now. Power Rangers as well. But, a lot of people aren't very happy with Hasbro's decision making, and they kind of like, even though apparently there has been a lot more, the newer Power Rangers stuff has actually been quite well received by fans. The newest season of series of Power Rangers, that's actually gone down very, very well, and it is actually quite good. I've seen the first season. I can't remember if I finished season 2 or not, but anyway. But the point is that it generally felt a little bit like Power Rangers of our generation, when we started watching it, where it had heart, it had, it felt like proper Power Rangers. And look, because obviously Disney kind of messed up Power Rangers a little bit. There was a couple of seasons that I liked under Disney's reign, but there was quite a lot of crap as well, in my opinion. But the fact is that Hasbro don't have the best reputation with being consistent. They don't have like sometimes they have issues with QC problems with their toys. Sometimes the toys aren't very good when they come out. There seems to be a bit of a lapsed sort of thing with Hasbro. So, I mean, obviously they did a good job with the movie that started Make Your Mark. That started it all off. That movie was fantastic. It was stunning. The animation was incredible. The voice, the acting talent that they managed to get for that film. They got A-list voice actors like Phil Lamar, to mention one of them. Then Kimiko Glenn as Izzy, and then they've got Vanessa Hudgens for Sunny. And then they've got, is it James Marsden for Hitch? I can't remember who Zip and Pip were. But anyway, just to name, they got a very, very, very good cast for the movie. And then obviously they decided to recast all the characters for the series because generally it would have been too expensive for Hasbro to carry them on for and obviously they're probably too busy contractual for other things as well, other than being actual actors. So it was I kind of saw that coming, to be honest. I kind of wanted Kimiko Glenn to still to reprise her role as Izzy because I love Kimiko Glenn. Even though the new cast, the cast that replaced from the movie, the cast that's doing the Make Your Mark and Tell Your Tale, they are actually quite good. They've really filled out those roles really well. They're emulating the performances of the actors from the movie, and they've actually emulated them very, very well. They are very close. I mean, I can't remember the last who plays Izzy now, but she sounds incredibly like Kimiko Glenn. She really does sound pretty much bang on. Sunny, she sounds a little bit higher pitched compared to Vanessa. You can tell there's a slight change there in her tone, but again, I respect that. She's doing the best she can to emulate Vanessa Hudgens. Same, but the biggest difference in voice I can tell from the movie to the series is Hitch's performance. Again, I don't have any problems with the voice actor that plays Hitch now, but you can definitely tell it's not James Marsden. James Marsden does have a bit more of a deeper voice, and the series, you can tell he's trying to emulate that with his voice, the new guy, but it's a little bit lighter tone. You can definitely tell that. So I think out of all the characters, you can definitely tell Hitch. There's more noticeable around Hitch with the voice acting and everything. But at the same time, I don't have any issues with the voice cast as a whole. I think they're doing a good job for what it is, essentially kind of filling in characters that were started off by different actors. So they're doing a good job with that, really. But it's Make Your Mark does have promise. It started off promising, but I just think the idea of chapter 4, practically we are at the end of Make Your Mark. Like I say, we've only got 2 more chapters and a special to go, and then that's, for what we know at the moment. We have a feeling that there'll be something afterwards. Probably next year, probably there might be some sort of continuation past Make Your Mark, but that is just a thought process at the moment. It's just we don't know until something is announced. We probably might get something announced later this year, probably around when the Secrets of Starlight actually streams and goes on Netflix. Because obviously Hasbro, I think they have about 4 events a year that are around marketing and for films and whatever it is for their media and everything, whatever they're attached to. I think they have about 4 major events a year, plus they also have Comic-Con appearances as well. So like New York Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con, there's always a Hasbro booth. There's always some sort of Hasbro related programming. So I generally think we might maybe get a future perspective or some more information. I might maybe find out at either New York Comic Con or San Diego Comic Con. Or something. We might find out at some sort of big Comic Con event anywhere. That's yet to come. But we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But it's encouraging that we're finally going to get 2 more chapters, because as I mentioned a few times in this stream already, it was originally mentioned that we were going to get 1 more only. Chapter 5 was going to be it, and a special. That was it. That was all what was going to come after Chapter 4. That was it originally, and we were kind of like, me and you have had a couple of conversations about it since we've watched the episodes off camera or off YouTube or whatever, and basically kind of, like 1 more, like, so 6, potentially 7 episodes, throwing it out there, probably 6. Well, obviously it's going to be 6 episodes for Chapter 5, but we're thinking there's going to be 6 episodes for Chapter 5. How the hell are you going to come to a complete conclusion with just 1 special and 1 Chapter 5? How are you going to do a proper conclusion and make sure everything tied together with just 6 episodes? And you've just finally started to kind of
9 episodes.
Well, yeah, but what I mean
if you include there's 9 episodes and a special left. But yeah, you are right. I don't exactly know how they plan to conclude everything in such a short time.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, because originally, obviously, there's 9 episodes now and a chat and a special. That's been confirmed now. So we've essentially got 2 chapters. The way I don't like how Netflix is doing it. I don't like how they're handling it. Calling them all essentially breaking it up into chapters like this. I don't like it. I know it's the way that I don't like it. I just don't like the way that they're doing it. It's not just MLP they're doing it to either. They're doing it to pretty much quite a lot of stuff. Everything's getting released in small chunks, and it's like, fucking attention. People with issues with attention.
The reason they're doing it is because if you go back a couple of years, if G5 had been released 5-6 years ago, we would have had more or less the entire thing done within a year, because there was a point where Netflix were rolling out series, a full thing within a year. Like, they could do 2 seasons, 3 seasons within a year, depending on the type of thing it was, the budget, how well it was received, so on and so forth. Netflix basically changed the whole concept a few years ago, and rather than doing like entire series within a short space of time, they decided to expand it over a 2 to 3 year period and do it in smaller chunks. I mean, let's look here. I mean, when was? Let's have a look here. Right, when was? What I need is. Right. So literally, it's been only roughly 2 years, because the Generation 5 film was released September 24th, 2021. So it was about 2.5 years that they have been telling the story, and they're going to finish it off this year. So if you kind of work that out, it's about 2.5 years altogether that they've done the story over 2.5 year period. As I say, if you went back about 5-6 years, they would have done the whole thing over a year. I think in a sense though, by doing it over a 2.5 year period, it at least sort of, because obviously you still got to remember that the overall target audience is to sell toys. So they do it over 2.5 years, they could guarantee more toy sales.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't know really. It's just, I just don't understand why this development why they had to leave it so late to finally kind of give us what they did in chapter 4. I don't know. They could have quite easily have done that in chapter 3, and give us an extra 2 chapters before what we're getting in chapter 6, essentially the final few episodes and special. We could have had we could have had a lot more development there, because there's a lot of wasted potential, because there's a lot of episodes that seem very samey, very samey, and it's just cutesy, and it's always revolving around Pip with performing and probably coming up with writer's block or whatever. We're unable to write, come up with a new song. Always doing stuff for our social media followers. It always seems to be centered around her more than any other characters and everything. So she seems to be more in the limelight because she's essentially right. She is, but it's. I just generally think it's just a wasted potential opportunity, because they could have quite easily, of what is being done in these 4 chapters, they could have easily have done that sooner, and probably think, right, okay, we're going to do 6 chapters. Well, we're going to say 6 chapters to make things simple, even though, because that's how Netflix is doing it. They're doing it in chunks of chapters. But, we're going to, they probably had in the mindset that this was going to happen. So 4 specials and 6 chapters. There we go. That's Make Your Mark. And whatever comes after that, we'll get to that when we come to it, kind of thing. So I'm just thinking, they could have quite have easily have given us what we've had in 4 chapters. They could have given us in 3, I think. They could have given us what we've had so far in 3 chapters. So the bout between Opaline and Sunny, that could have happened. That could have happened at the end of chapter 3 quite easily, and the thing with Misty, that everything, they could have. Some people might think with me, well, that sounds like you're rushing it, but the fact is that you need, in order for the characters to be flushed out, in order for characters to develop characters and to develop a new world and a new environment, you generally do need to start to. You need more. You need more episodes. You need you need time for that growth. It doesn't just happen straight away. It takes time. And this series feels like it doesn't have that time. It feels like Netflix are just trying to rush it out. I generally think it just generally does feel like they're just trying to rush it out, even though it seems like you mentioned earlier when we were talking on the phone, that it seems like Make Your Mark and Tell Your Tale has actually done better than what we thought, and most fans probably thought, because I think it's definitely done well enough. I generally think they was originally going to finish it on chapter 5, but I think they've generally been looking at the numbers and thought, you know what, sod it. Let's make a 6th chapter, the last special, and let's make something special out of this, because the numbers are suggesting this is actually something we could quite potentially grow off of, and could be quite.
It's possible. It's quite possible.
I don't know. It's one of those things. I mean, like I say, I'm very much interested in what the whole Secrets of Starlight's going to be all about. That's certainly going to be a very interesting thing to witness when it comes around. I'm kind of happy that we're finally going to get it all concluded this year. We don't have to wait for like a whole fucking nearly year and a half again, like we have with Chapter 4. And it seems to have taken fucking forever to get Chapter 4. It literally just. I understand it's a fully CGI series and it takes time, but it, I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's just taken so long to get just the 4 chapters we've had so far, and but I'm kind of happy that we're finally going to get it all concluded of what's currently going on with the episodes and the series we're getting and what's going on. We're finally going to get it all concluded this year. Hopefully, then we'll maybe find out later this year what the future may bring, or be what the future may be going forward, whether it's the next whatever comes after Make Your Mark, whether it is going to be the title of the special in the special Secrets of Starlight, whether that's going to be the name of the series going forward. I don't know. Who knows? But
well, time will tell me. I mean, I've heard very little about plans for sort of G5 and beyond. Let's say G6 effectively. I've no idea if there's plans for that. I mean, I don't think G5 will be the end of MLP. I think Hasbro know they're sitting on a gold mine. It entirely depends what Hasbro's plans are in the future. I mean, let me think here. So G4 finished in 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like early to mid 2019. And then literally about 18 months later, roughly, we had the G5 film. So yeah, realistically, because obviously it's this year, G5 is ending. Potentially, we could be looking at a G6 within 2 years. So like 2025 ish.
Yeah, maybe. Unless they're working on something right now. Because Netflix, whenever they're doing something like this, usually they're working on the next thing pretty much straight away. Whether whatever comes after Make Your Mark, whether it's going to be the same characters that are in Make Your Mark, or if it's going to center around a new bunch of characters, I don't know. But I mean, end of the day, Hasbro know how much Friendship is Magic meant to the fan base and to people. It was very special, and Hasbro know how special and how much of a phenomenon it actually did become in the end. And I understand that they want to try and emulate that to a point, but also kind of still keep it within that timeline or keep it within that world. So, I mean, to be honest, what they need to start doing something that's really going to wow and really going to go, whoa, shit, that's awesome. Because a lot, fans are a little bit mixed. There is some positivity around G5. I mean, I've not seen many angry fans. Like in the Facebook groups that we're a part of and everything. Even on YouTube, I haven't really seen anyone really rip it hard. I haven't really seen any really bad negativity from any fans. But at the same time, I haven't seen that level of creativity from the YouTube side of things. I haven't seen anybody doing like their fan fictions or the comic dubs like they did for Friendship is Magic stuff. I haven't seen any of
There
that.
are
Maybe some, but I haven't seen much.
there are some fan fictions. I actually had a look at film fiction a while back, about a couple of weeks ago, out of interest, but there aren't many. I mean, yeah, if you look at like Gen 5, look at Friendship is Magic, there are tens of thousands of them on that website,
Oh,
which isn't a surprise because that's what the website was started for Friendship is Magic fan fictions. But when it comes to G5, there's not many. I think if I'm remembering right, there's maybe about 130 fanfics on there for G5. But with G4, there's just literal hundreds of thousands of them.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's obviously had the attention. I think it's getting the viewerships from younger demographic. I generally think, obviously, that's what it's made for. It's made for preschoolers. It's made for really young kids, like I don't know, maybe between 4 and about 6 years old. I'd say it's made for that demographic of age group. Kids that are old enough to, understand what's going on to a degree. So that's the demographic it's made for. You can tell it is, but I mean, obviously, Friendship is Magic. That started out in that way. The first 3 seasons were very, 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 very child friendly to the point where there was no like reference points. There wasn't any kind of like pop culture references or anything in the first 3 seasons. Really, it was quite simplified. The first 3 seasons. And then obviously when the Brony fandom started kind of coming out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they're starting to see that the figures and the demographic wasn't just small children, it was full grown adults as well as teenagers that was watching it at the time. And they were like, whoa. So they got to work, got creative, and started putting in references to like Doctor Who, to movie references, to music references, to all sorts of different references and pop culture references and all sorts of stuff. And that really did resonate with the fans, and the sheer demographic differences between generations and that was watching it at the time, but I don't know what it's like. I don't know how much of a generational thing it is at the moment for G5. I don't know. I think there is still older people besides me and you watching it, but I don't know how much of a drive, how much of attention it's actually getting compared to how Friendship with Magic did for people older than the actual demographic target audience.
I think with Friendship is Magic, in a lot of ways, that was an unexpected occurrence. It is very much it is still seen as that. The Brony fan base, especially centered around G4, is still seen as a phenomenon. Like not even Hasbro even foresaw such a fan base would arise from it. And whereas
if everyone that worked on it, the writers, the artists, even the voice acting talent, just didn't realize how much of a phenomenon it was. I mean, look at the documentaries that Tara Strong and Ashley Ball did. When they did those 2 documentaries on Bronies and everything, and trying to, those documentaries were designed to try and say, look, Bronies aren't a problem. They're normal people. They're in the military. They're in the police. They're paramedics. They're doctors. They're people. Just because they like a certain show about ponies it doesn't make them, because they were being labelled on the news as probably being predators, as stuff like that, wasn't they, at the time? And there was a few stories, wasn't there, where there was apparently somebody that got arrested who was apparently a fan of French Prince Magic, who was actually a predator targeting young kids. There was a couple of stories of that, a couple of different individuals or instances where that has happened, but yet,
Yeah, there's been a few. I'm aware of at least two.
yeah,
There was one a few years ago. I don't quite know what exactly happened, but there was somebody was arrested for something, and I can't remember what it was. But there was concern at the time because it was mentioned about him being a fan of MLP. But that never came in. That never really came into it because in a lot of whatever, I can't remember what he'd done, but whatever he did, the fact that he was a fan of the show had nothing to do with the crime he committed. Um, yeah, there has been there's been a few cases. I know there's been a few cases of sort of bronies and dodgy stuff, but that doesn't really, impact the fandom. I mean, the problem is, I mean, you'd be surprised, but anti-brony channels on YouTube are still a thing.
no, of course.
And I mean, I only discovered this recently. I actually thought they'd all gone, like, dried up, gone away, but no, there's still actually quite a lot of anti-brony channels on YouTube who still make content that is directly aimed at stereotyping the fan base, ridiculing the fan base, even outright, lying about the fan base and spreading pretty malicious lies.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting, really. I mean, the reason I find it interesting is because on one side we still have this, we still have a stigma attached to this fan base. We still have
Oh, yeah.
this sort of this negative stigma about it. But you could look at any other fan base and there's very little stigma. You could look at Star Wars, Star Trek, um, Barbie. You could look at all those types of fan bases, and there's very little to no stigma attached to it. Um, Interestingly, the only other franchise I know of where there's stigma, but only within the last sort of 10-ish years, well, actually, I'd probably say more like 6 years, is anime. It's really weird, but there's actually quite a lot of anti-anime groups out there. There's a lot
Oh,
of
yeah, no,
groups
no.
that paint anime fans in a bad light for some weird reason. I mean, hell, mate, like you and me, I know we're getting off topic here, but you and me, we're second generation anime fans. Like, first generation, you're talking 80s, you're talking like Akira and Gundam Wing, they're all the mid to late 80s sort of style, like early 90s. We're second generation on the grounds that we started watching anime in the late 90s when Sky became a thing.
Yeah.
So we were introduced to it through that. So for us, we've grown up with it as sort of part of the stuff that we watched, whether it was Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Gundam Wing, all that kind of stuff that we would have been watching on Sky, on Toonami. And the weird thing is, the reason why within the last sort of 6 years or so, you've been getting a lot of stigmata pointed at anime fans is because, and I hate to bring it up on this chat, but I apologize for bringing this up, but there's a reason why. It's a lot of it is linked into this, new modern audience crap. With this whole notion of diversifying everything and having a specific way of looking at things. And when you have anime and manga that will focus on all sorts of genres and all sorts of types, and for some reason, a lot of these groups, they don't. I don't really want to go down this path, mate, but try and keep it brief as I can. They don't like a series that portrays women in a certain way. I don't mean that in a sexual way. I mean it portraying a woman as a woman. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of these weird groups, they would prefer that a woman be portrayed in a film or a game or a comic. They would prefer, they would say that woman has to appear as very masculated, very non-feminine. The idea of a strong, independent woman in this day and age is often viewed as a woman who looks masculine and is capable of doing anything. Generally doesn't need the help of anyone. You know, they're a loner, they have no real story. Whereas in anime, you've got loads of strong characters. Like, for example, look at the Major from Ghost in the Shell. She's a really, really strong female character. She's an incredibly famous female character from anime and manga, and is definitely a strong, positive role model, especially if there's any girls out there that want to become cyborg assassins in the future. But with the Major, she may be a kick-ass cyborg assassin, spy, and everything else in between. But she's also very much a very feminine character. They never lose sight of that. And
yeah, the thing is that she was. The thing is that I think the reason why the stigma against it is because I do understand this. Anime and manga, they do over-sexualize women, which is seen as a negative thing. Like, women don't look like that. Women don't look perfectly stick thin, and they don't have incredibly big boobs and other parts of them. It's not natural, and I understand that to a point. Some people have women especially. So a lot of women are very self-conscious about their bodies and about how they look and how they appear, including men as well. But women are much more in tune with that kind of thing, and there's a hell of a lot of stigma against men. It's a lot of the stigma is more coming from women than men, because every female character in an anime, she has beautiful long hair. She generally looks like a goddess, basically, and every single female character generally look drop dead gorgeous. And in reality, this sounds incredibly awful to say, everybody's beautiful in their own way. I want to make that clear. I don't want anyone to get it, I don't want to get anything twisted with what I'm trying to say here. But the point is, not everybody's perfect. The notion of perfection is bullshit. There's no such thing as perfection. But yeah, within that anime, or not just Japanese animation, anime in general. I mean, look at DC and Marvel. A lot of the female characters are very over-sexualized. You can tell they are putting a lot of emphasis on certain orifices of their bodies, like Wonder Woman.
Orifices?
Orifices, is it?
Orifice, mate. An orifice is like, mouth or ears. Anything that is effectively an exit or entrance into the body.
Oops. Sorry.
Would you like to try that again? I mean, that would make, Endgame a very different meaning. That whole bizarre fan theory about, Ant-Man would go inside Thanos through a certain orifice and then expand in order to kill him. I've no idea where that fan theory came from, but yeah, that would, literally be a very remnant of Endgame if we were to be talking of orifices. So, a very, very interesting concept there from John. You can see why he's a very warped individual. He thinks of orifices.
I was thinking of a different word in my head when I was saying it. No, I generally mean bodies, you know, parts
Yeah.
of the human anatomy. There we go. That's better. You know, so in animation in general, I mean, like I say, I mean, look at like Wonder Woman, for instance. You know, Wonder Woman, she's depicted as obviously she's an Amazonian princess. She's one of the Amazonian women tribe, and she's incredibly powerful. She's strong. She's beautiful, but that doesn't define her. You know, Wonder Woman's perfectly developed because even though she is absolutely drop dead gorgeous, but yet that doesn't define her, and how she physically looks doesn't define her. What defines her is her courage and her strength as a person to help others that need help and to be a superhero, to be, you know, to help. And that generally speaks volumes for a character. And there are some very, very good examples out there of female characters in animation and in live action as well that are very good role models and positive stereotypes for women and young girls to look up to. I understand in animation and in films, things are overly dramatic, and some things that happen are not really going to be obtainable for everybody. Like, to be honest, to be like a kick-ass spy, or to be an agent or something, or to be or what you said in Ghost in the Shell, basically a cyborg assassin kind of person. You know, that kind of stuff is probably going to be near on impossible. But the fact is that anybody can, if you put your mind to something, you could literally do anything. You know, you could be whoever you want to be, do whatever you want to do as a career, as a job. You know, if you apply the time and the effort into anything, you know, it could happen. A woman quite easily can serve in the military and be one badass mama jamma. You know, women are serving in the military. I believe in America, women are on the front line. But in the UK military, they're not on the front line. They're in logistics and dog handling and things of that nature. They're not really on the front line at all. They're more or less in other departments of the military, which I don't think is right. I generally do think female soldiers or whatever, I generally think they should be given end of the day, if you go into the military, you know what you're getting yourself into to a degree. You know, you potentially could be called to duty and have to go on tours and have to fight for your country and fight alongside your fellow man or woman, whatever. That could indeed happen, and that's the nature of that job. That's the nature of reality for that. Is, you know, so I generally think if that's what she wants to do, she wants to be a frontline infantry or a tank driver or an RAF pilot or whatever it is. Generally, I don't see the problem of a woman being in those roles. You know, women are certainly capable of doing whatever a man can. But it's one of those things is that, you know, anime, as you were saying about anime, you know, anime's had a very big stigma ever since it came on. Well, ever since it kind of come out of Japan, and started to kind of like start making waves in America and overseas. Because when anime first came out, when anime first started really making the rounds in America and other parts of the world, it was completely raw, not subtitled or anything. It was just raw Japanese. So apparently subtitle stuff didn't start happening properly till quite later into the 80s, or around about the mid 80s, or I can't remember now, but apparently when it, I don't know how true it is, but I heard something about that it just kind of got aired on Western TV as is. Wasn't subtitled or anything in English subtitles or anything. It was just raw. So you were literally watching stuff, and it was probably completely warped, whatever it is. because a lot of the 80s, 90s anime was very out there, very gory and quite graphic in some ways, and very, very different to what America was producing at the time as well. And you know, it would have captivated people to a degree, but at the same time, they wouldn't have known what the hell was being said, because, you know, unless you were someone that, if you were Japanese, then yeah, you'd understand it, but obviously not if you wasn't. But unfortunately, there's a stigma for everything. There's a stigma against people that are geeks and nerds, people that like to go and see films that are more based on kids. There's a stigma for everything. Unfortunately, you've got your stinkers in life. You've got people all over the place that have a problem with something that generally they shouldn't have a problem with, because generally it's not a problem at all. I mean, I love anime. I love all forms of animation. I love stop motion. I love CGI animated films. I love 2D. I love cell animation, which is originally what Disney was doing at the time, back in days of like Snow White and Cinderella and Lion King and stuff. You know, I love animation in its entirety. I love animation, and whether it's aimed at adults or kids, I love it. Yeah, there's some stuff I won't watch because, you know, there's like stuff like Paw Patrol, for instance. I'm not going to go and watch that. I mean, apparently some people say it's actually got a decent story to it, but I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to watch Paw Patrol. But the fact is that, you know, there's stuff that is generally designed for very, very small children, and it's not really going to have any impact on adults. You know, it's not really for them. It's for young children learning. You know, you get cartoons, you get some animated stuff that is generally there for learning purposes for someone who's very young. Like back in our day, do you remember Dora the Explorer?
Yes.
Even though people absolutely can't stand Dora the Explorer now they've got older. But yeah, Dora the Explorer, whether you like it or dislike it, whatever, but at the time, it was teaching kids things. It was teaching kids, like, all sorts of different things. Then you've got Sesame Street. Fucking classic. I love Sesame Street, even now, even though, unfortunately, I don't think it airs in the UK anymore, but it's still going. In America, but I don't think I've ever seen Sesame Street airing in the UK for a bloody long time. But Sesame Street, the people who created the Muppets, Jim Henson, it's them, and it's just big puppets teaching kids how to spell, how you know, words and numbers and math, and you know, there's stuff like that that is generally designed for a certain, that is generally, it's got a job, it's got a function to it. And yeah, I'm not going to sit down and watch that because I understand how to read and write and stuff, you know, because I'm older. So there's some stuff I won't watch because it's generally got, you know, child learning involved. Not necessarily Paw Patrol, but I think Paw Patrol is more or less to try and like promote ethics to kids, like be good and to help your friends and who to go to in a time of crisis, like the fireman or you know, that kind of thing, like that kind of thing. It's teaching kids how to be responsible in a way, in its own little, in a way, yeah, its own little way. But that's what I love about animation. It has that potential. I mean, most of the life lessons I learned was from animation. Was like to be true to yourself. To if you believe in yourself, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And a lot of the stuff we watched back in our day had those in there, didn't they? You know, it's like Disney, for instance. You know, a lot of Pixar stuff had a lot of heart and had a lot of meaning, deep meaning in there, of sacrifice and, you know, death, life, the joys of life, and then, you know, going into all sorts of different territory, which really kind of like resonated with generations of people, kids and adults alike. So that's what I love about animation. I love animation in all its forms. And I never was a fan of My Little Pony. Getting back on topic here, but I was never a fan of My Little Pony back when it was a thing. Like back in the 80s and that, when it was centered for girls. It was like basically a knockoff of Barbie, but ponified. Really, basically comb the pony's hair with a brush and put makeup on it, and that kind of thing. And that was the kind of the point of, and it still is now. Friendship is Magic. They sold like makeup sets, and I believe you could get like, did they put? I can't remember now, but I don't know if they released an Equestria Girl version, or was it Equestria Girl or a pony version of a character, or whoever, of all the characters, where it was like, do you remember that like disembodied head for Barbie head, where girls could like practice doing the hair and that?
Yeah, vaguely.
I remember. Obviously, I never had one. Obviously, I don't have any hair anyway, so I don't need one. But I do remember. I remember when I was a kid, back when I was at school, there was a girl that I was friends with. I can't remember her name now, but I was friends with a girl, and I can vividly, just faintly remember. And she had, basically, I found it, and it was literally just on the floor, randomly on the floor, and I was like, why is there a disembodied head on the floor? Kind of just looking at this head, a blonde female head, just on the floor, and I was just like, this is kind of creepy. But then I found out it was her, basically just for makeup and practicing how to do plaits in the hair and things, that kind of deal. But it's just, I just love animation. But like I say, with MLP, I never, with MLP, I never, before Friendship is Magic, I was not interested. I watched a couple of episodes out of curiosity, like for Gen 3 and Gen 2 and original. And I was like, what the goddamn hell am I watching here? It just doesn't, none of that has aged well at all. None of the original Gen 1, Gen 2, and Gen 3, they have not aged well at all. And it hasn't been that long since Gen 3, really. It hasn't been that long. The only good thing that came from, I believe, Gen 3 was Tabitha St. Germain and the woman who plays Spike in Friendship Magic, Kathy Westerlock. Those two voice characters in G3, and then they came back to, well, obviously they're voicing different characters in Friendship Magic, but they were retaining voice talent for Friendship Magic, to the franchise anyway. So that's the only good thing that came from the past generation for Gen 3 or whatever. But no, it's just, I never was interested. But when Friendship is Magic aired or came out, it was out for ages, to be honest. I think it had been out for like 2 years. The comic book was in full swing at the time as well when I found out about it. And as I've mentioned this story a few times, watched that random episode of Spike eating the jewels, and he's trying to make a cake for Rarity. And that was the first episode I watched, and it was like almost finished. It was like from the halfway point, and then I went back an hour later and watched the entire episode, and then I went online and I started watching it from season 1, and then I discovered the first 2 Equestria Girl films were on Netflix at the time as well, and I got into that. So it's one of those things, is that a lot of the, you do get some that have been there from the beginning. There is fans that are within the Brony fandom and Pegasisters that are Gen 1s or Gen 2s or Gen 3s. There are those that generally, there are still some fans that are still within the fan base now that are from from those times as well. Like there's a Brony YouTuber called, is it Dusty Cat?
Yeah.
And he goes
the manliest Brony.
Yeah, him, yeah. And he's a great guy. I'd love to meet the guy. But he goes to a lot of the conventions along with Saber Spark and AC Race Best and all them, and basically him, I don't think I mean, obviously he's old enough to remember like G1 Transformers. His era's probably 80s. He was probably born in the 70s. I don't know, late 70s, and grew up through the 80s. So he would have been there for a lot of the 80s properties like Gem, Josie and the Pussycats, and well, no, that was a bit earlier than that. But you know what I mean? He would have been in that era. He would have grown up with a lot of the 80s properties. So, but yeah, for me, it was never something for me. And when Friendship is Magic came out and I watched it, it really broadened my horizons, really. But we just have to wait and see what the future brings for MLP, for G5, Make Your Mark. It'd be interesting to see what's yet to be, happen in the next couple of nine episodes plus a special, I guess. Very much looking forward to see what the outcome is and what potentially could be setting up for the future. That would be interesting. But yeah, closing on what you said with stigma against anime fans and bronies, it's ridiculous, really. It is ridiculous that it's still going on, and it's been going on for a long time. It's ridiculous. I don't know why people can't just leave people be. We're not doing any harm. Yes, there's a couple of cases where there's been people that are part of the fandom, the brony fandom, that were wrong uns and predators and doing stuff they shouldn't. And I understand that is absolutely disgusting, and I do not condone that kind of behaviour whatsoever. And Sam certainly doesn't either. And I think majority of the people with the head screwed on wouldn't agree with that either. But at the end of the day, you can't tie everybody with the same lace. Not everybody within a fan base has the same mindset as those wrong uns that are, they don't. It's the same with any fan base. People that are fans of DC, with Marvel or whatever it is. You're gonna get wrong uns within a fan base that have done something disgusting or something completely awful. But it doesn't mean everybody within that fan base is the same. And that goes for anime, that goes for everything. But the Japanese mindset is very different. Japan is massively different. It's a completely different culture compared to a lot of Western societies. Even though Japan is much more westernized now, it has become much more westernized now. A lot of American and Western culture has really injected itself, mostly in, Tokyo. Tokyo and Kyoto and Osaka, I believe, are the much more Western cities in Japan. Once you go outside of those cities, it becomes very old-fashioned, proper Japan, if that makes sense. It's no longer westernized, it is Japan. When you go outside of like Osaka, Hiroshima as well. Osaka, Hiroshima, Kyoto, and Tokyo. Those ones are the most populated and the most toured, which are got a bit more Western injection into them. The reason why of Osaka is because there's the US Army base. The US Army base is in Osaka. So they've got quite an injection of American culture, a lot of jazz bars and cafes, and because jazz started in New Orleans apparently. So it kind of the whole jazz. There's a massive jazz. I know this is going off again, but there's like a massive interest with jazz music in Japan, but thanks to kind of American troops and so on, kind of bringing that over. But yeah, the Japanese mindset's very different when it comes to animation. Even though I say it's different, but at the same time it's not. It's just the way that they animate characters is a little bit different. But and some of the stories. Yeah, I mean, there's some anime series that I don't like. But for the most part, I have a lot of respect for mangakas, people who make manga or Japanese comic books, and the people that produce and create the anime series and movies. There's a hell of a lot of talent, and I just think when I hear somebody say I hate anime, I'm like, but I'm like, well, what about Pokemon? Oh, I like Pokemon. It's Japanese, you know that.
Pokemon is an anime.
It is. Japanese is anime.
In a lot of ways, it's sort of the rather.
Transformers was originally a Japanese property.
It's sort of the stigma, not the stigma. It's sort of the what's the word I'm thinking of? The hubris of some of the people. Like you could have people state, animes bad, blah 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 blah, and yet they could be a huge Pokemon fan.
Yeah.
And yet they it's quite potential that they wouldn't even know Pokemon is an anime, which is really odd to say. But some people aren't aware of that.
Yeah. Well, once upon a time, when I was a kid, and I had Sky, Sky Digital or cable, as American viewers will probably know it as cable. But over here,
that is another thing right out the 90s, which all of us were probably watching at some point. That's anime. Digimon, that's anime right there, and yet that's something else, which is an example of an anime from when we were kids and all that. But yeah, okay, Digimon wasn't quite as successful as Pokemon, but the point is, it's another anime that was on telly back in the 90s when we were all kids. It's another example of Japanese entertainment.
Yeah.
There's you can guarantee for every person out there that says, oh, anime, yeah, I hate it and they're all weird and anime is terrible and all that stuff. You can have bet at least some of them have got a Pikachu sitting on the shelf. Just sheer irony of it.
I find it quite amusing that people that completely reject Japanese animation, I just don't understand them because, it might not be for you. I've got no objection with that. Not everybody's gonna like Japanese animation, but at the end of the day, a lot of people that disrespect Japanese animation they probably watched a random episode of a series that was maybe either a comedy or maybe something that was necessarily not that good. And they generally just went, well, if this is bad, everything else must be. You know what I mean? There's a lot of narrow-minded people out there. Unfortunately, I don't like to talk about my dad or my parents or whatever, but my dad, he's very narrow-minded when it comes to the stuff I watch.
It's that generation, man. My dad's the same. Yeah. It is literally that generation. I mean, yeah, your dad's a little bit older than my dad, but they're basically the same generation, give or take, like 4 years. I don't mean this in a bad way. I'm not saying this to insult anyone, but our parents' generation, especially when it comes to the men, that generation's very different because that generation is more about, how can I put this? It's more about, I don't know how to put this really. It's
be a man, basically.
Yeah, but it's not just as simple as that. You're looking at a generation who
basically they worked from they were basically brought up as where they were basically they finished school at like 14, 15.
Yeah, I'm not on about stuff like that. I'm on about the view of the world. Like, that generation is effectively from a time when there was a specific way of doing things. There was a specific way of how you were, and anything that sort of deviated from that was very much sort of frowned upon.
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways, this was before there was any sort of normality for, shall we say, geek culture. and it's just very it's very it's very one-sided. It's anything that me and you, like me and like if we were to go to Comic-Con, like me and you, we wouldn't at all be bothered by anything that we'd see there. Whether or not we saw cosplayers or fairies or other bronies or anything like that. We would not be at all bothered by that.
No.
But like our dad's generation,
as long as somebody didn't grease themselves up and started sliding around all over, then that would probably
but that would be very odd. But I would only expect to see such things in perhaps the after party if there was one. But with our dads of their generation, not all of them, but quite a lot of them would be quite heavily judgmental of people at a place like that.
There's stigma against Comic Cons as well. Some people that dress in cosplay and everything, and a lot of people think people that cosplay are weird, and they're not weird at all. I mean, to be honest, I think people who cosplay, professional cosplayers or beginning, wherever you are as a cosplayer, I have a hell of a lot of respect for them. I generally do. I don't think I could ever do it. I generally don't think I could go in a public place and dress up as, say, Captain America or Thor or a character from an anime. I generally don't think I could do that. I generally think I couldn't do that because I have a lot of insecurities about how I look anyway. I know you're essentially embodying a different character, be dressing up as a different person or a certain character.
Yeah,
but
we should go the like Leonidas. Yeah, that'd be good. Comic-Con of Birmingham. Behold, what was once John Knowles is now Leonidas of the 300s.
And I was just kind of like Sharpied on a 6-pack.
Behold, that is a real, amazing gym-toned body. And we're now going to ask Mr. Jared Butler what he thinks of my mate and his amazing 6-pack. Jared, as a man who worked hard for a Spartan body, does my friend here not imbue the power of the Spartans? I can see the Sharpie. That's not a Sharpie, Jared. That is literally it's just a bit of ink. There was an accident and he's got ink on himself. Honestly, mate, it's solid like you. If you were to punch him with all your strength, Gerard, I guarantee you right now he would survive it. I would, but I don't know if you want to punch Nosey, But yeah, we'd put you in a Spartan cloak and, the famous leather thong and the spear and the helmet. Yeah. That's an image I don't ever want to think about ever again.
I don't really want to think about it either.
Yeah, you dressed up as a Spartan warrior.
Yeah.
Your dad might have questions.
Well, there is the alternative Spartan I could do. Just as a Spartan from the Halo games, and you don't see my face.
Yeah, you do that.
I mean, like I was saying, I don't generally do have a lot of respect for people who cosplay. It's just it takes a hell of a lot of courage to do that and to publicly show it off. It generally does. I have a hell of a lot of respect for people who cosplay. But again, there's people who ridicule them as well. I think people who embody a character that they generally love. They're like, well, they must be tapped. They must be weird. Yeah, my dad, again, he's a little bit like that. Whenever something comes up, like say if there's like a film or it's like a premiere or something, and they see people dressed up, like fans dressed up as a character, my dad sort of kind of like goes, oh, do you know? And you wonder why the world is as it is today and all that kind of thing. I'm like,
what? Because somebody dresses up as the favorite character from a TV show.
I know, but this is it. My dad's like as you said, it's
Well,
a generational thing.
you know, if you think about it, mate,
he's very narrow-minded about everything. My
what
dad's still
what
stuck
is
in the black and white days.
well, you know, what is life? You know, at its most basic concepts, we get a job, we work, we earn money. You know, hopefully one day we get our own place. You know, we pay for that place for 35, 40 years. If we're lucky, we retire. And then maybe if you're lucky, you get 15, 20 years where you're not working, and then you die. And it's like, it's shit. Like, life is a shit deal. And, you know, you literally, that is just a fact. That is life. And,
I just love how casual you just go. And you
and
die.
you know, and if you think about it, you can either enjoy stuff in life that you enjoy, or you can, you know, not. But ultimately, one day you're gonna die. So, you know, why not just enjoy the things you enjoy? Because, you know, if everything goes my way, you know, one day
We're all gonna fucking die.
I might have my own place. But the truth is, one day we are all gonna die, and you know, you may as well just enjoy the things that you enjoy in life.
True. Yeah. Or just found a quiet place and die. Oh dear God. But anyways, well, we've been talking for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I think we've spent at least an hour talking about everything other than MLP. But you know,
Yeah, that sounds about right for us. At least we're making up for lost time.
yeah, that's true.
But
Yeah,
anyways,
you know, speaking of MLP, mate, is it too early for me to ask whether or not you'll know if you'll be at PonyCon this year? Even though I've been asking you for like 4 or 5 years whether or not you're going to get to PonyCon one year.
I know. I mean, I am wanting to go. It's in my mind. I know about it, but it generally depends what money. Basically, once I get TFN out the way in August, TF Nation out the way, I'll once I get that out the way, then I can probably start to think about October for a PonyCon. I mean, I mean, I'm definitely interested in going. Because, like I say, I've been wanting to go every year for the other ones that you've been to, but obviously I've just not been able to due to money.
No, I get it. Mate. I mean, to be fair, like this year, I'm quite interested. I mean, yeah, we've got guests going and all that. And
Yeah,
but the other thing that interests me is the fact that they're having a concert again this year, which is rare. They don't have it every single year, but they're having it again this year, so that's twice in a row, and it's always a blast. The concert, it's worth going to. But I know I don't mean to, like, you know, pressure you or anything. I get your situation, but I'd love it if you could come, because if me, you, and Lawrence could all go, it'd be great. I mean, you know, it's been me and Lawrence for the last sort of 3-4 years of PonyCon, so it'd be great to have you there as well.
Oh yeah, I do want to go. I mean, like I say, I've always wanted to check out an MLP convention. I mean, it's certainly still on the cards. It's certainly still on the cards. It's just depending, because all the saving process at the moment has gone towards me going away. I go away in 2 weeks' time. I go away 2 weeks tomorrow. I think 2 weeks tomorrow. Yeah. So it's the 1st of July that we fly out. And then I'm back on the 8th of July. And then I go back to work. I think. Let me check things. Yeah. Fly back on the 8th and I'm back at work on the 10th. So once I get that out of the way and I get TFN out of the way, then I can start to think and put some money away for PonyCon. But I do want to go. I generally do want to go because I'd like to meet the guests and everything that I'm finally starting to get and everything.
Yeah, I mean, with the way they've been going with guests for the last 2 years, obviously that's this year included. I'm really hoping we may get all of the film actors for the main six.
Might be a bit
Although
of a jump for Tara though.
I know. Trying to get Tara Strong is a big
She won't be
leap.
cheap either.
She.
I generally think because I think a lot of the top ones they share an agent with like other big top A-list voice actors, like Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. They both share the same agent. They have the same agent. And I think I don't know if they cover. Obviously, they're an agency, so they'll cover multiple people, not just Peter and Frank. But I generally think the agency that Frank and Peter are a part of or thingied by, I think they also are a lot of other big A-listers as well.
Yeah, well, time will tell, but I'd love it if you could come. It would be great to have you there.
No, I know. I do want to go. I would like to go. I mean, at the moment, it's looking likely I will make it, but it's just I want to get. Obviously, like I say, I'm away in 2 weeks' time, and then August. Once I get those two things out the way, then I'm free for the rest of the year. I've got nothing else on. Literally, I've got nothing else on for the rest of the year. So, PonyCon would literally be the next thing for me to look at. So, once I get those two out the way, then I'll probably look at getting a ticket, and then try and get some money together for it. Because I don't really need to book any time off from work, but I do still have. I think I've still got about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks max of holidays still for the year that I do need to get rid of before the end of November, or by November. So wait and see. Well then, man. Up to you what you want to do. If you wanted to call it a night for the stream, and since we've got nothing else to really talk about, what do you want to do? You want to call it a night, or?
Yeah, I can do if you want to, mate.
All right then. Well, it's been a good chat. I've spoken about numerous things, but we've got the main news out there and our thoughts on Make Your Mark, the chapter 4, which is the main point of the chat. But it's been good to come back. It's been good to get back into the live stream fashion again. Like I say, we're probably not going to be doing live streams like every week like we used to try and do. We might maybe see about doing it probably every fortnight.
Yeah, I mean, we'll try our best. I mean, obviously,
but we'll
I've
just
no doubt there'll be more info coming out over the next few weeks with what's coming for G5, since the next part's only 3 months away.
No, we're in June now, so
the next part's late September, early October, so at least three-ish months away. So yeah, we're definitely going to be having more info popping up.
Okay, right. Well, yeah. If any interesting information crops up, we'll either make a video, not a live stream, maybe just a video talking about it, or we will just come together and do another live stream sometime. But we'll try our absolute damnedest to make them to make these more, you know, to come back a bit more often. But thank you to Silver Comet for watching and
it's always
commenting.
nice to have someone comment. We know people are watching today. Thank
Well, we
you,
had
Silver
literally throughout the whole stream we've been on. Well, we had 2 people pop in and watch. So the eye at the top has only said 2 people. One of them was Silver Comet. But no, it's fine. I mean, end of the day, we don't do stuff. We don't do this stuff very often. So a lot of the people that used to watch us probably have moved on now. It's our own fault. It's nobody else's. But like I say, life gets in the way. But we've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of keep the momentum going when there's other stuff to do, and obviously we rely on information of the franchise to do this, and obviously there are times where there's just nothing to talk about.
Yeah, there's just dead air, and like I say, between chapter 3 and chapter 4, Make Your Mark, there was bugger all. I mean, the only stuff we could have really spoken about was Tell Your Tale stuff. That's Tell Your Tale. I mean, all of season 1 of Tell Your Tale is going to be up on Netflix soon. All of it. There's only a little bit of it. Not all of it's on Netflix at the moment, but according to what we showed in the stream, the whole thing's going to be on Netflix. That's currently up to date. Some point as well. So I want to get caught up with Tell Your Tale, because apparently it's been getting quite good. Apparently it's been adding more to Misty's character and a few other things. So I want to try and catch up with Tell Your Tale, so I'm all caught up with that as well as Make Your Mark. But yeah. Well, anyway, so it's been good. It's been good to finally come together and talk about ponies and other things relating to animation and films and stuff. It's been good. But we'll try and come back again very soon. We'll keep our eyes open to for any more information in regards to the next episodes yet that are coming this year, and also the special. So there's still plenty for us to talk about in regards to Make Your Mark and everything. So, and also possibly Tell Your Tale stuff as well. There's plenty of stuff for us to talk about in regards to ponies and things for G5. But thanks for watching for those that did, and thank you very much to anyone that watches once we're no longer live. It's going to be one hell of a long video for you to watch. I don't know, but I don't even know if people even watch these once we've done them. Probably don't, but it's something for somebody can kill a few brain cells with. Like,
who knows, mate?
But anyways, so thanks for watching, everybody. Just as we're coming off, there's one person. But would you like to close us off, Sam, and say a few words before we go?
Well, thanks to Silverspark for
Silver Comet.
watching. Silver Comet, sorry. Thanks to Silver Comet for watching and commenting. Thanks to anybody who will watch this video in the future. I've no doubt in 100 years or so time, you'll be thinking, A, who the hell are these weirdos? B, good God, all that stuff that they've got in the various respective locations must be worth a fortune right now. Where the hell is it all hidden? And also, they'll probably be thinking, what the hell is a brony? Google it. Assuming there is such thing as Google in the future. But yeah, but thanks for everyone that's watched. Thanks to Nosy for joining us. And yeah, we'll keep everybody updated on any future developments should we get any more information on the future for G5.
Yes, we will indeed. So thank you very much to those that watched and to Silver Comet for his comments. And we shall be back hopefully very soon if any more information comes out between now and September or October when the next episodes go up on Netflix. We will make more of these. We'll be back, doing more live streams. Well, anyway, so thank you for watching, and we shall get going now. And we're just going to listen to Sam annoying typing on his keyboard.
Sorry, Smithy talking to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okie dokie doke. Anyway, so I'm going to get going now. So thank you very much. There's 2 people watching now as we're about to go. But anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll be back hopefully very soon. Would you like to say any more, Sam, or are you done?
Well, just thanks a lot, everybody, and hopefully we'll be back. Hopefully we'll be back soon, not in 6 months' time or a year's time or whenever we next decide to do this. But yeah, we will be back, and yeah, we will have stuff. And in all honesty, people, I'll be completely honest here. I am dragging my feet a bit with this channel because I have got stuff I want to do. I have got videos and stuff I've actually planned out for this channel, and I am dragging my feet over them. But it's largely because I just don't really have much time to really do them.
Yeah.
Plus the weather at the moment it's so humid and hot. And I mean, it's all right at the moment in this shed. It's not too bad, but you know, just sitting in here it's not too bad at the moment. It's not as hot as it was the night before last. I was sat in here trying to do something, and it was just impossible. It's too hot. But yeah, hopefully we'll be back. We'll see each other. Well, I'll probably see Nosy over the weekend, actually, but we'll probably be back and you'll see us all again. Vlogging with you all when we know more about the upcoming events for G5.
Yep, we will. Okay, so thanks for watching, everybody, and see you soon.
Yeah, right. See you all soon. Bye.